See, Job turns to an instant wuss the minute God shows up. All this time complaining, he wanted a mediator even. Someone to stand between him and God because he was sure of his righteousness. Job constantly was anal about being righteous. Everything had to be right. And it was a question about doing all the time. He wouldn't even think evil. And even God himself said how righteous he was. So the minute God shows up, he answers God with a question that God had placed before him. What is he, Jewish? I guess he is. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? And this is why, because he knew so little about God. He only knew what he had heard. And so did his friends. And his friends were worse. That was Eliphaz, Bildad, and so forth. Sounds like something out of the Lord of the Rings. But you see, they're not original. They got those names probably from the Bible. Anyway, with friends like that, he didn't need enemies because they were constantly on him. It was his fault that calamity had struck him because that's the way God is. That's the mistake these arrogant people, those three guys did. They put God in a box. They didn't see how creative God really is. They didn't even think because they didn't know of his mercy, his grace, and his love. When God shows up to Job, Job immediately starts to heal. He feels it. And the healing that he has shows him the mercy of God. Of course, he's lost everything. But God begins to restore him after he does one thing that God had asked him to do. God had asked him to pray for his friends / enemies. And this is what he has asked us to do. It is one thing. It is a priestly function that he gives us. And it's to all of us. We are to pray for everyone. Everyone we meet. So after he starts praying, or he finishes praying for his friends, the restoration comes. The restoration that comes to Job, it is in mercy. And now, after the shock of meeting God himself, he starts to enjoy the restoration. But one thing happens, but God knows about it. He still needs comfort. He's lost children. And if you ever have lost a loved one, you know that from time to time you think of them. They come to mind and you need that comfort. So out of nowhere, his brothers, his sisters, the rest of his family, and all the people that he knew before come to his house. Where were they before? They now show up and now they're going to eat them at a house and home. They're going to take what already is the restoration. But wait a minute. He needs comfort for the children that he has lost. He will always remember them. And God remembers that. And nobody better than to sit and eat with you than your family. Of course, he has only heard how God is, but now he's experiencing the goodness of God. He's experiencing it through his family. Whatever he thought about God through what he heard, he now sees. He sees something else. And now he has priestly functions, just like you have priestly functions. And now he has to raise 4 generations to teach them the mercy, the grace, and the love of God. Jesus, when he walked, also had priestly functions. Even before he went to the cross, he already had priestly functions. He had to travel. In the book of Mark, Mark puts them going into Jericho. So Mark wastes no time. Then he has them coming out of Jericho. So what happened there all that time in Jericho? You go into Jericho, you come out of Jericho, and you're coming with a crowd. Mark leaves you open for a great imagination of everything that went there. Because when Jesus leaves Jericho, he leaves with a great crowd. On the side of the road, there's this guy named Bartimaeus. He's been sitting there, and he's happy to do so. Because this is the road to Jerusalem, from Jericho to Jerusalem. And he knows all the pilgrims go through here. So he has this cloak, and he has this bread in front of him as he's sitting there. And of course, he knows that they're always going to throw these coins. And those coins that they throw, because he has the sharpest ears, he has a sharp mind, and all his other senses, except his eyes, are very acute. So of course somebody throws a coin, he already knows, oh, that's a mite, that's a shekel. Oh, I haven't heard that before. So he picks it up and he reads it with his fingers. He says, this is not a coin, this is nothing. Cheapskate. So, he also, because of his condition, he's probably not allowed in the temple in Jerusalem. So he probably hangs around all the other places like synagogues in his town and everything else. And from a child, he has heard things about the Messiah. He has heard also of Jesus Christ. He's probably been around since John the Baptist, and he heard about all this other stuff that went on with John the Baptist as he was baptizing. But what he does, he accumulates a lot of facts in his mind. He's not like us. We actually put everything in notes. We Google everything if we want to know something, but nothing really retained in the mind that is unnecessary. We push it aside. This guy has a library up there of facts because he has to multitask. Every time somebody speaks, and they speak all at once, he takes a little bit from there, a little bit from over there, and he puts it in his mind. So of course, when he hears this great crowd coming, he knows prophecy. He knows that people are coming to Jerusalem. He knows that eventually the Messiah is going to pass by there. And what happens? He hears that this is Jesus of Nazareth. And he knows things about Jesus of Nazareth. He's been hearing for the last couple of years how great that man is, and that this might be the one that they've been waiting for. So of course he starts to yell when he hears that it is Jesus who is coming. And there he starts. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. In Mark, you only hear this. This title that he gives them, Jesus, Son of David, is actually messianic in nature. This is the Messiah, and he's sure of it. He's also sure of one thing. They tell him, be quiet. Don't bother him. Be still. So he says, it is. It's confirmation. It is Jesus. So he yells even the louder. Now, forget it. Nothing is going to stop him from having this audience with him. Nothing at all. So, of course, you know that Jesus heard him the first time. Jesus always likes to check out people. the human nature of it, and he knows it. So he's checking people out. He knows that there are people there who need faith. And this is going to be a healing of faith. So he says, call him. And they do call him, and off comes the cloak. The coins and everything just go flying because he knows something. There is faith in this man Bartimaeus. He knows that when he gets to him, there is going to be healing. When he gets to him, Jesus says to him, what do you want me to do for you? But you see, that's ironic. What do you want me to do for you? Previously, two of his disciples have asked him to do something for him. And they also used. And Jesus also said, what do you want me to do for you? The same sentence. And they said, we want to sit at your left and we want to sit at your right. Jesus, of course, says that's a no. So they're present when Bartimaeus was asked the same question. I wonder what was going through their mind. Oh, this is going to be a no. But it was a yes. Because the man was full of faith. So he heals him. And, of course, he does something that is very nice, very good for himself. He follows Jesus. And in following Jesus, he sets himself to actually see a priest that is being also set up. The priest that is being set up for us. Like Minerva had read before, the priests, the former priests that were around when Jesus was in Jerusalem, they couldn't do what Jesus had done. They had really no power. And it's obvious since they can never heal anybody. All they can do is collect the temple tax. Collect money for the sacrifices and everything, which was useless. Because those sacrifices really didn't forgive your sins. They really didn't do anything for you. You had to do it year after year. And this is where blind Bartimaeus used to make his income, because he knew that these people would come and they would throw the coins at him, at his feet. And he was always making his income that way. But with Jesus, it's totally different. Jesus was heading towards Jerusalem. And he was about to do something, to complete a work of salvation, which involves mercy, grace, and love. It is what is available to us right now. It is a high priest, Jesus, our high priest. Jesus, he was holy, innocent, unstained, separated from sinners, and exalted above the heavens. See, Jesus actually, when he entered heaven with his sacrifice, he entered heaven to sit at the right hand of God. Not to stand and do work, because the work is already done. He did it once and for all. He doesn't have to do it again. And he is seated there, making intercession for us. Just the presence of his blood in heaven is enough to make intercession for us. Like Eliphaz, Bildad, and so forth, no one can blame you of sin and unrighteousness. As long as Jesus is there, no one. Anything that you do is covered by the blood. Wherever you have a problem and a complaint, yes, take it to the Lord. Because with Job, the Lord never held his complaint against him. He didn't answer, but he didn't hold them against them. Sitting up and not standing is Jesus on the throne for us. And you have to go there by faith, with confidence. Go before the throne of mercy and grace and love. Go before this throne with all confidence when you need grace and time of need. For he is there to help you consistently. True, you may have problems just like Job did. We all do. We have the calamities upon calamities. You'll turn on your TV set, you hear about the news constantly. But remember, he is there and he will answer you. In his time, he will answer you. And if you get impatient, complain. Don't worry about it. Go right before him. Complain. And then do what Job did. Then repent. But go before that throne of grace. Because no other person can help you more than Jesus can help you before that throne. Go before him with confidence, always. Keep in mind that he is forever listening and sees your problem. Keep in mind that anything that you are going through, he is very well aware of. If you're missing your loved ones, yes, it's okay. We all from time to time miss loved ones that have died on us. But he is there to comfort us. The other day I saw my grandmother, and it seems strange, but I was getting out on 59th Street, and there she was. I see things like that from time to time. But the only thing is that she has died 40 years ago, but from time to time I remember her. So I went up to her, and she looked at me. But she looked at me not like my grandmother now would look at me. She looked at me like strange. And I said, oh, what did I do? Because she was going to start to yell. There are cops all over the place. You see, 40 years ago, my grandmother was old, but now 40 years later, I'm that old. So what does it look like? And I realized, you know, this lady's going to start to yell, you're going to get arrested. How are you going to explain that she is your grandmother? And how are you going to explain it to Eileen that you're touching old ladies in the train? But we do miss our loved ones. We do from time to time. You will miss your loved ones from time to time, but the Lord would be there to comfort you. As I got away from that pickle, I was already comforted that I wasn't arrested. And I went straight to work. But it is comfort that the Lord will give you in whatever way he knows you. So whatever way that comfort comes, accept it. Go before the throne of mercy and receive grace in time of need, no matter how much that need is. Remember that that throne of mercy and grace, it is what Job saw. He saw the future. He saw the resurrection. He saw the mediator, what he wanted. Jesus Christ is our mediator, consistently making intercession for us. That mediator you have to trust. Because the same way Bartimaeus went forward, and in faith he knew that Jesus was the one who would actually heal him. We must go forward with this faith, strong faith, yelling, complaining, it doesn't matter. Go to the throne of grace to receive mercy and grace in the deepest time of our need.